So this is a help video for housing to learn how to submit maintenance requests through the call log and then have them show up on their AIM work desk. So when submitting to the call log, you'll want to press this little green button, and you'd want to, it might remember who you are, but if it doesn't, you would just type your name in here. And call title is really important, so just want to put something brief. Anything in red is required. And so next you'd want to add call notes. For my work control staff, it's going to be really important since this is coming in from housing and they know housing is planning on using the call log as well. They need to see in here that this is actually for a housing electrical shop and AIM, or they will get confused. So this will just streamline the process if you just go ahead and type that in the notes. When you select a category, your categories are going to default to the housing categories. Right now you'll see that mine says CPFM. But since I'm logged in as a CPFM person, I'm not seeing housings, but yours will all say housing. So you're going to want to make sure to type in a keyword up here, because if you don't pick our CPFM electrical category, we won't see the call log entry because Ken and Justin with GIS have housing stuff filtering out of our view. So you'll want to make sure that you pick that. You won't see this create request or work order option. That's something that we have the ability to either push the request to AIM or just enter a work order number if it's already been created. Here's where you could go ahead and add an individual. So if you wanted to send it to yourself to make sure that it went through, and also just a quick reference, or maybe say that you wanted to attach Rob Berg because you wanted him to see that it was coming through, you could go ahead and do that, and then they'll get an email. Here's where you could attach any electrical drawings. So if you click here, it'll just go out to your computer and you'll look for a document and attach it. And here's where we'll pick the room and building. So I'm going to type in Bean, and we'll go to Bean, and we can you can type in a room number, or you can just pick the actual, if you know what it is, like if it's Bean, I don't know your room numbers, but let's see if that's a room. That's not a room. Bean Complex. So you can drag the pin around. You should be able to pick your room, but I don't know your room number. So I'm going to pick one so I can show you how that works. So say that you knew your room number in here. It'll take you into the room number. So if you know that, you can go ahead and type it. If you didn't know the room number, you could go in, you could just pick the building, and then you could just drag it around. You can also go outside. So if they're working on something outside, and you wanted to grab, put it in a parking lot or something, you could do that. And so then you would just hit save, and it'll show up as a call log entry for us, and then we will do our work control process and make a work order in AIM. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel on this because I don't want it to actually show up in our call log. But I went ahead here and I created a work order. So once the work order gets created off the call log, it's going to show up in your housing electrical news status. That means that Rob Berg hasn't seen it yet. I went yesterday on April 22nd, on August 22nd, sorry, and created status, all of these exact same statuses for Rob and Ernie. So they'll follow the work orders through this exact same process. So what will happen is this will pop up on Rob and Ernie's work desk, and they'll see that you have a new work order coming in. That'll give them a chance to go ahead and look at it so they can dive in here and see what's going on. If you had any related documents that came over from the call log, maybe you had a really long extra description or notes, they could view all that here. So what Rob or Ernie will do is they'll go in here and hit edit, and they're going to assign it out, which means that they've seen it. So they'll change the status to assigned, and then they're going to go in here and they will load the employees. So they just go ahead and hit save. And what that'll do on your work desk is you'll see it go into assigned, and so that means that they've seen it. You guys can go do your work on impulse, do all of that, and when you're done, you can go in here and change the status by hitting edit to complete pending review and hit save. And when you go back to your work desk, you'll see that it then moved from the assigned status to the complete pending review. So the process is it comes in from the call log, work control makes the work order. It's really important to say that it's for housing electrical. It'll go to new status, and then Rob will see it because he's monitoring his queries, and he'll change it to assigned, which means that you guys can go ahead. I imagine if he had questions, he'd reach out to you. And then when you're all done with it, you log back in and you do complete pending review. Then Rob's going to take it after he sees it in complete pending review, and he'll go in here and he'll change the status to closing. And then it'll fall off all of the queries. So it's just done. Now it's a record in AIM. And I could make you a query pulling closing work orders, so if that's something you'd like, let me know, and I could do that for you. The other work order you have here is general purchasing. This is a work order that you can actually go over to stores and you can buy something from them using bench supplies, office supplies, PPE, or tools. And you can just go in there and pick something up and give them this work order number. You can also go into this phase, and if you wanted to, and if you knew what they had, you can launch a shopping cart. And this is where they would want you to put a detail. Check my spelling here. Need to acquire some PPE. We had a urgent call. No time to go to town. Something like that, and then you could say, we'll come pick up ASAP. If you wanted them to deliver it, you could put in please deliver, but they really kind of asked that would be next day, so don't expect them to deliver something same day. But you'll notice because I launched that shopping cart from the phase, it already knows that Farah did it. It would know the property from the work order, and this particular work order doesn't have a property because it's just a departmental cost, but say that this was a job for Bean, it would say Bean here. It knows the work order number and the phase to bill. So all of that's just defaulting. So now you want to add to cart, and this is where you could type in caution tape. See if anything comes up. Nope, that doesn't come up. So I'm going to remove caution tape and see if we can get something for the word caution. And it's possible that stuff's not in test. This is the test database. So let me do gloves. So there's a whole bunch of gloves here. So you could just go in here and say, add to cart. Let me go back and do caution again, because maybe it was just hung up. See if it lags a little bit. No. Well, I know they have caution tape, so maybe they just don't have it in here. So let's do glasses. See if we can get anything. So here's safety glasses. So say you wanted to pick up some safety glasses. And so everything that I'm buying is going on that phase. So if you made a mistake, you can delete it, you can adjust the quantity, you can keep adding to your cart. And then as soon as you hit save, that shows up as shop approved over in the store's warehouse. And this will bill out through Banner. So it's going to bill this work order number right here. So that's a little bit on how you can use the departmental purchase work order. If you ever wanted to use us for purchase requests, you could, I'll go find your work order I made you. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in assigned status so I can find it on our work desk. This is the test work order I made. So you'll see that we don't have the time cards hitting anywhere because this subcode right here keeps it from going through Banner. But if you did want to buy material on this job from stores using the shopping cart, you could, or the purchase request. You could also do an equipment rental like with Pape. It's all going to hit the right subcodes. You could also run a contract through on this work order. So if you wanted to do that, you would launch the purchase request option from the phase. See, here's the shopping cart. That's to go pick up things that are already in stores. But if you wanted to hire outside services to come in, or you had a special order, you would launch the purchase request. And this is where you would say, you know, you could put that, and you could, they want you to put the work order number here because they lose visibility of it as they go through the system and make a PO. And then this is where you would pick the shop person. So it has to be whoever's in that shop. So this would be, you know, you'd have to pick Daniel or Kevin. I actually think in production, Fair is listed as a shop person as well. So here, I usually copy this because then when I add it, and I'm going to do for a service, if you wanted to get a part that wasn't in stores, you'd pick non-stock part, but the tree company is a service. So now I'm going to do next. And this is where I would type in the contractor. See how it came up here, Sperry Tree Care. And let's just say that it's $500, and you could actually put not to exceed. You can also go back in here and attach related documents, so if you had a quote or an invoice from them. And so as soon as you hit save, let's see, oh, your buyer isn't defined. So yeah, this is a good one. So if you ever get buyer not defined, you have to go in here to your user-defined fields and pick the buyer that you want it to go to. So I work with Dustin a lot, so I can go in here and pick Dustin. Heather Nunn is actually their supervisor, so if you wanted it to go to her, and then she could pick which buyer it goes to. And this, if you're ever working with Adam Jones, this is Tina Davidson over at SRS, so you could route to her as a buyer. But we'll just have Dustin set up here. So now if I hit save, that's going to route to Dustin's AIM work desk, and he'll know that he needs to make a PO for this. And he'll notify you that he's made a PO. So that's kind of how that works. I don't know if you guys are going to be using that at all, but there is that functionality in AIM. And another thing that I wanted to show you was that you can add notes. So say that you were in your work order phase and you wanted to add a note because your electrician actually needed Rob's group to come in. You can go, I'll back up a little bit. I'll go back. Jeff Butler always tells me I'm too fast. So when you're on your assigned status right here, you click on that, and then you would click on your phase. And this is where you can go to the notes log, and you can communicate to work control via the notes log. So if you click on the notes log, you can add a note. You could say what index to bill. And then this is what really important. You have to pick the note type, WCC. And if you click on this, you'll notice there's several. We actually use these note types. They mean something to us. But the only one that you will ever use would be this WCC. If you pick UEWCC, that goes actually to the energy plant, the central power station. So always pick WCC, and then that's going to push to the work control center's work desk, and they'll go ahead and they'll add a phase for the electrical shop. And that'll show up on Ernie and Rob's work desk as new. So you see that right here? So that showed up. And this would say your name. It would say Farah here, or your staff. And so you'll notice here that there's a notes log. If you ever wanted to attach a related document to this, just for historical information, you can go in here to related documents and click edit, and you can add a document. It just goes out on your computer. Let's do this crane logistics. And you can go in here and pick a document type. This is required. We typically just you know, probably you guys would be attaching drawings or something like that. So you could pick what kind of documents. We live a lot in the world where we're picking images or invoice. So just next. You can skip the permissions. We don't have any of those set up. And you'll see that the document listing shows up here. And then you just hit save. And you'll see that the document showed up. Now if I go back to my phase, you'll see that I have related documents and I have a notes log. So those are two things that technicians watch out for. So if Rob was looking at this on complete pending review, he might want to read your notes and your related documents. And another cool thing is if they did add a phase for the other electrical group, all of the notes roll up here in order and tell you what phase they were on. So you can view all the different notes. So that's kind of an overview on that. I was setting you up with this record locks here, and so if you click on the record locks and you actually had one in here, you would go ahead and click it and then hit delete. There's nobody in test right now, so you can't see any, but you might lock yourself up if you don't navigate back to the AIM and you use these browser buttons. AIM can get locked up. Another little tip is if you want to use multiple screens of AIM, it's really a good idea to be in two different browsers, because that'll lock you up if you just use the same, open another tab. You'd actually want to be like in Firefox. So like usually I have Firefox, Chrome, and Edge all open because I have 3 monitors. And it allows me to use different screens of AIM without them overlapping and mixing each other up. So hopefully that helps you, and you can contact me if you have any questions. And sorry if I rambled.